Hi guys! Today we're going to introduce our Chapter 4, Lesson 1, Mexico. Alright, so let's get started. Open up your libro or your virtual libro. Open up to page 194 and 195. We're going to talk about Mexico. Alright, so what do we need to take notes on? We need to know a couple things. Number one, we need to know where Mexico is located. Now, this is interesting because people have always thought, Mexico, maybe Central America. I even get a few South Americas in there. But here's the reality. Mexico is actually a part of North America, along with Canada and the United States. Central America actually doesn't really start until you get to Guatemala, which is below Mexico. So, yes, Mexico is a part of North America. What else do we need to know about Mexico? We need to know about the flag. Now, if you're actually in your libro, they give you a little picture of the flag. This is the bandera, and the flag is green, white, and red. You need to know the flag colors in Spanish. We've got verde, blanco, and rojo. Very good. You need to know the capital of Mexico. The capital of Mexico has more than one name. So the first name is Mexico DF. DF stands for Distrito Federal, which is federal district. Also, there's just La Ciudad de Mexico, which is Mexico City in English. All right, we need to talk about the currency. You need to know the currency. Now, everybody knows that in Mexico, there's the peso. Yes, the peso. What you may not know, though, is that the U.S. dollar is considered the unofficial currency. Most people have quickly realized if they went on a cruise or if they just went to Mexico for a family vacation, that they didn't actually have to change their currency anymore. If they just had some U.S. dollars, it was taken and they could make their purchases without any issues. And that is because the U.S. and Mexico are so intertwined. I mean, we are allies. We are so intertwined in terms of people and cultures and every part of today's society that U.S. dollars circulate frequently all throughout the country, whether you're at the border, whether you're, in the middle, or whether you're at the coastline where you have the cruise ships. So, yeah. But the official currency is the peso mexicano. So keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about languages. Mexico does have more than one official language. Now, number one official language is, of course, Espanol, but we already knew that. Number two might surprise you. It's actually Maya. Yes, I said Maya, like M-A-Y-A, like the Mayan Indians. A lot of people actually speak Mayan still. And number three is a very generic title. It's Otras Lenguas Indígenas, which is basically other indigenous languages. So you can clearly see by that, the fact that they've made it official, Mexico has multiple languages floating throughout the country, okay? Not just Espanol. All right, let's talk about food. Everybody's favorite. Okay, here's the good thing. Mexican food is so ingrained in U.S. culture, we don't need translations for any of the foods. I mean, just think about this for a minute. Fajita, burrito, taco, enchilada, quesadilla, queso. We already know what they are. The minute someone says the word, an image comes to our mind and we're like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. That's when two cultures are that entwined. That's what happens. We don't need a translation. We've got the visual in our head and probably know what it tastes like because we've had it and it's yummy. All right, let's talk about famous people. Now, this one always messes people up because we could be sitting in class and I could say, okay, guys, name for me some very famous Mexican entertainers, and you guys will name off 4 or 5 people, and none of them are actually Mexican. They're Mexican American. All right, so here's the difference. If you are born in the United States and your parents are of Mexican ancestry, you're Mexican American. Sometimes people like to call themselves Chicano. Chicano is another, I don't want to say a slang term, but it is more of a new age term for Mexican Americans. Many Mexican Americans on the West Coast like to use the term Chicano rather than Latino, which kind of encompasses everybody, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, everybody. But if you want to be specific, Chicano. Chicano is your word. And if it's a girl, Chicana. But you already knew that. All right, so here's the thing. Your libro gives you a list of people who are actually born in Mexico. That's the difference. So here we go. Your book says somebody you need to know about, Alfonso Cuarón. He's a director. Salma Hayek. Now, I know you know her. You may not know her name, but you know her. She is the mom from Spy Kids. She is also the lead star in Frida Kahlo. She played Frida Kahlo in the movie. Octavio Paz, a writer. Laura Esquivel, she's a writer as well. So you may not know them. You may be thinking, what about? And what about? And what about? And please don't say J-Lo, because J-Lo is not from Mexico. But yes, all the other ones you were thinking, they may be Mexican American, but they're not actually born in Mexico. So that's just something to think about. All right, last but not least, we need to know that Mexican Independence Day is September 15th, which is also the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. The reason why it's Hispanic Heritage Month is because, the reason why it's September 15th through October 15th is because 95% of all Spanish-speaking countries gained independence. Yes, they actually gained independence from the country of Spain between September 15th and October 15th. And that is why Hispanic Heritage Month is in between two separate months. Last but not least, we need to know about Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, Mexico's most notable artists in the history of Mexico. All right, so Diego was super talented and known for his huge murals. He did not paint on a canvas. He painted on a football field, okay? His canvas was not, 3 feet long. He would literally paint on buildings that were a mile tall or 2 miles wide. And he would do these beautiful designs. And he was commissioned. That means basically he was brought to multiple countries to do just this, to paint murals on buildings throughout the world. And even in the United States, we have several. We have several in Los Angeles, and we also have several in I want to say a few in the Northeast as well. Gotta look at some of his stuff. Now, his wife, Frida Kahlo, she was also an artist in her own right. Now, keep in mind, during that time period, not just in Mexico, but all over the world, women were not necessarily taken seriously as artists during that time the same way men were. So, yes, she was an artist. Yes, she had thousands of paintings, but they weren't really circulated and popular the way her husband's were. Also, a lot of her artwork may seem to some people a bit disturbing. I mean, her husband was painting flowers and native women with kids running around happy. And she was painting skeletons and skeleton babies and just some really interesting stuff. But if you like the gothic look, she is your lady. She had some deep thoughts. But keep in mind, her artwork, it's because she went through a lot of tragedies in her life, and her artwork reflects that. Now, unfortunately, I think her vision of art, the fact that she was such a huge artist, didn't really come to the light until her death, unfortunately, and that was when they found thousands of art pieces in her attic. But she was very popular around the world. She was known as an activist, and she was known for wanting the world to know about the economic differences and the basically just societal differences of how Native Mexican women were treated. And just one interesting fun fact about her is, keep in mind, they had money. She had money, her and her husband, because he was Diego Rivera, well-known muralist from around the world. So they had big money, but you would never have known it had you met her. She liked to shake up things. She was known for that. One of the ways she would do it is Mexico would have these huge balls where women would buy the finest dresses from Europe, finest silks, finest everything, and they would go to these very expensive, lavish dances. And Frida, of course, okay, first of all, she was invited always. Frida was invited simply because she was the wife of Diego Rivera. But I want you to keep something in mind. Frida Kahlo, keep in mind that she was an activist at heart. And so what she would do is go to some of the poorest areas of Mexico, and she would swap a beautiful gown and give it to one of the poorest women that she would see, and actually swap for their native clothing, and she would wear the native clothing to the ball. And she did this for a reason. She said that in many societies at that time, in many elite, rich societies in Mexico, people never saw poverty. They had maids who wore uniforms, they had workers who wore uniforms, but they never really surrounded themselves by people who were truly poor, or they never went to the rural areas of Mexico where they lived. So she decided to bring it to their face. So she would wear, like I said, she was known for wearing native clothes to the ball. Everybody loved her husband because he was Diego Rivera, very famous muralist. But when Frida came, definitely she was the talk of the party. Amazing personality, but you knew she was there because she had a cause to follow, and she was going to make sure you saw it. And so a lot of the elite women, they were a bit uncomfortable because now she was showing you what poverty in Mexico looked like. So these are some things to think about. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to Mexico. Okay, bye.